Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to Strategy Management, where we always discuss leadership and strategy. And this is very important, particularly at a time where we have the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic that is affecting over 180 countries across the world, Nigeria inclusive. Well, first, let's give you the updates on the current confirmed cases on COVID-19 in the country. 873 cases have been confirmed, 197 recoveries with 28 deaths. Let me repeat that again. We have 873 cases, 197 recoveries, and 28 deaths. These are all the data coming from the National Center for Disease Control. So please, let's take note of this and stay safe and follow all precautionary measures in this period, because COVID-19, the virus, is real, and everyone across the world is working tirelessly to ensure that we mitigate the risk of this pandemic. To continue our conversation today on taking control of change, part 4, looking at entrepreneurship, is a strategic management consultant and guest, Mr. John Wese. Nice to see you, sir.
Thank you, Otto. Once
again. Lockdown phase 2, day 10.
That's true.
We're getting to that ramp up of this phase.
That's true. Are you expecting another phase?
Well, that's what we want to discuss briefly before we go to the presentation. You know, the Nigerian Governors Forum, they had this teleconferencing, and all of them agreed that they would lock their borders. There will be no movement between borders.
Okay.
So that shows a sign of a very total lockdown scenario. Because if I can't move from Lagos to your state, if I cannot move from Akwa Ibom to Cross River, if I cannot move from Bayelsa to Rivers, if I cannot move from Adamawa to Taraba, that just shows you how a national scale lockdown can begin to take shape. But note that the COVID-19 Presidential Task Force debunked statements that people credited to them that the government has approved a national lockdown. So from the presidency, it's not a national lockdown, but state governors have agreed within their borders to push a lockdown. So let's look at that. This is going to be showing wide implications at this point. Lagos has over 500 cases. That is really interesting too.
Well, firstly, I would like to congratulate the Governors Forum for taking a very decisive decision.
Okay, you call it decisive?
Yes, it's a decisive decision. And I'm also commending them for their leadership. To recall, in this same program, some of them have behaved in manners that I had rebuked. Yeah. Okay? Now, the thing about life is, when you do the right thing, you know, at least that's the way I operate. I'll also say comment. This is a good decision by the Governors Forum. If they've locked interstate, they've locked the country. The only difference is now that the federal government is not the one saying we are the one locking you. You get the point? It's the state governors, so they've agreed within themselves, so you get my point, which is good. That means there is cohesion. All right? There is now a common goal.
Yes. Collective agenda.
There is a common goal. Yes. You get my point? Now, that common goal enhances compliance, strengthens obedience. You get my point? Yeah. And it also gives more powers, you get my point, to the governors to take drastic actions to citizens that refuse to comply. Yes. You get the point? So that's a good decision. Because if you look at it, you just mentioned Lagos having over 500 cases. But you discover that some other states, or your state too, is increasing. Other states, it's increasing. Yes, I think I saw 71 last. I don't know what it is now.
1 or 2 weeks.
So you could see it's going up. The moment we are doing this, we can begin, when we started, when we were talking about vocalized leadership, I talked about understanding what? Data and its interpretation, analytics. You must understand waves and patterns. So as this more test is done, we can see and we can do an analysis and predict a trend that will support us. That's just the truth. We can predict a trend that will support us. So that's exactly what we are. That's exactly what we are doing. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity, if you ask me, and we can do the best that we can.
You know, it's about 25 states now that have cases of COVID-19. That means it's less than 11 that don't even have any index case. So that shows you that, like you said, the cohesion, they need to ensure that this is mitigated to the fullest. And when we have this whole scenario, like we discussed before we started, essential services will go on. But in terms of the concerns of ensuring that palliatives are deepened and interventions are made to critical sectors and those who that will need it, I think this will be a time where the federal government and state governments will have to put heads together and really look at something sustainable, because in 2 weeks for the states, most likely the federal government will extend. We need something that is inclusive for everybody.
Well, I think the federal government will key into the Governors Forum's agreement. All right? I think so. Mm-hmm. So this is, how many days have we been locked down now? This is the third week. This is the third week. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Because we're in the third week, now is for states to begin to also play their part together with the various funds and the federal government and state governments, you know, and the COVID Fund initiative to begin to reach our people as they are. That's one. Two, collecting data on tests for each state. Then let them be doing from hospitals to hospitals. Don't forget, the number of hospitals have been closed down in Lagos. Yes. How are we sure we do not have the same scenario in other states where some private hospitals are treating? We're not saying that, we are saying just get the authorities to be aware. If you see a case that looks like a COVID-19 case, alert the authorities so they can know how to manage the situation for the benefit of everyone and even members of the hospitals themselves. Yeah. So in my view, I think that this is good. I'm excited. I mean, you see, there is nothing as good when all of us have a common goal.
This is good because it's even bipartisan. Some countries, because of party divide.
Now you've gone political.
Politics.
You've gone political. Well, that's okay.
But you should not undermine the
citizens. This decision, the citizens' welfare and our national security has taken a front burner above every other thing.
Which is very important.
Which is very important. So I am in total agreement. I commend this decision. I am in support of it. You know, and that's why we are here. Yeah. Sharing our thoughts, enlightening our people. Yeah. This is what we are doing. You know, this enlightenment can never be too much.
Definitely.
Because just one information can save you and I. It can never be too much.
A lot of communications are going on, and people are having webinars, engagements, discussions, and I think this is deepening the knowledge level across the globe because people are going to go back, develop their skills, read, learn, and the things that we're learning from here are also very interesting.
Well, this is the little that we can do for this season, so that our citizens can get better, you know, empowered for the new scenario we all are going to face, or we are facing.
You know, you talked about hope and reality. This is the reality we are going to face, so we have to adjust.
That's true.
So let's get to part 4 of your taking control of change for enterprises.
Thank you.
To go
Thank you, Otto. Yeah. Again, viewers, welcome to part 4 of taking control of change. If you recall, when we began, I started saying that the reason why you need to take control of change is because you need to spring back to life. You need to spring back to life. What do I mean by springing back to life? You need to get your career going. You need to get your businesses going, as the case may be. Because we all are in a situation that we've never been before. By the way, when we started, yesterday we spoke about a number of things. And I took the issue of balancing reality and hope. So if we look at the recap of what we did yesterday, what did we do yesterday? We said we needed to balance reality versus hope. Now, what's the reality? The reality of what you are facing through. The distress that you are feeling, the uncertainty, the seeming uncertainty that you are facing. What is hope? Hope is the expectation. Because we all have hope that it will be good. Like we say over here, it go better, all right? While it go better, you also need to recognize the fact that you are facing a dire situation. And you need to balance both. And for you to balance both, you need data. And what is the data that you need? As an enterprise, you need to look at your numbers. You need to also look at your firm's value chain. And I described in detail a little bit more yesterday what your value chain is. If you get your value chain review critically, I also told you that you needed to get your top talent into your war room. And I explained why you needed to get your top talent to do it. It's not just your top executives. Within your firm, there are people you know will tell you the truth. How you need to get moving as an enterprise. And I said you needed to pay ruthless attention to your value chain. You needed to understand what and who is making your firm to lead, to lag, and the indicators. Why? In terms of your performance level, in terms of your service levels. Maybe you're totally shut down, but you need to look back who and what was making you not to deliver before COVID or during COVID, if you are performing a certain level of service now to your clients or to your customers. And I said you needed to have a thorough grip of your primary and your secondary activities in your value chain. I also said that you needed to have a clear line of sight about your partners, all the people supplying you inputs by which you offer your service. Having that clear line of sight is very good for you because it helps you to predict what you are able to do and what you are not able to do. I also mentioned the fact that cash is king any day. So you needed to have good grasp of your cash flow situation. This is very important. It's the cash flow that keeps any enterprise running. Because if you have a good understanding of how your cash flow is, you can know the level of service you can offer and the level of your operation, how your operations will run. Above all, your value chain, when you have good understanding and a critical review, it gives you a helicopter view of who your critical stakeholders are and how you need to, provide service to them, both now and when the lockdown is over. We all are in a trip that we've never been before. And one of the things you need to understand as I go further to today's conversation is, today I want us to look at two things which I began yesterday. Yesterday I talked about balancing reality and hope. Today I want to talk about understanding acclimatization and the entirety within your firm, as well as transparency and documentation. So what do I mean by acclimatization? First, in this journey, friends, you need humility. Because humility will help you understand that while you are probably having service, you need to, as a matter of urgency, list out the things that you are doing now if you are currently offering a service at whatever service level, and the things you were not doing before. You need to do this because your ability to capture this helps you to know how to respond. When the lockdown is over, we are not just going to go back to former status. No, it's going to be a gradual process. And we can see this from other clients, that they've rolled back and they are coming back to work. Everybody's with caution, coming back gradually. I mean, you can check this out yourself. So that's why you need to document what you currently are doing now that you weren't doing before. And you need to do this across all of your processes, along all of your processes, along all of your client and customer service points. You need to do this because this documentation helps you to do a proper review. When you are going to roll back, you probably have asked some of your staff not to come back, not to come to work during this lockdown. It also helps you to know how to tell them to come back. Those of your staff that you've told to go on compulsory vacation during this season, it also helps you to know how to ask them to come back as you are reviewing the business climate post-lockdown. You now see why documentation is important. This is what we talk about acclimatization. Acclimatization in this context is saying you need to do that documentation. Another thing you need to understand is you currently have a number of people that are working for you. Okay? Do you have their numbers? Maybe you have more branches, you have more than one branch, you know, and you are scattered all over the world or all over the state that you are working. You need to have the total number of staff. Why do you need to know this? Because while you're currently having a particular service that you're offering now, what it does is it helps you to do what? To deliver this service post-COVID. How are you going to ask other people to join the force? So you're not just going to say everybody should come back. You ask them to come gradually. So gradually you are getting into the groove. Gradually you are helping to manage your cash flow as well. All those of your crew that you've asked to stay behind, you get my point? What you're now doing is, so because you have the total number of those who are currently working in whatever way they are currently offering service, as well as your partners, it helps you to also roll back, to also know how many people did you deploy in your primary activities and in your, what you call it, your support activities.
Yeah.
You get the point. This is what this does for you. Please, friends, this is very important. Now, we'll talk about transparency and documentation. When we talk about transparency and documentation, what we are talking about is you need to give, during this period and after, if you had not been transparent about the kind of instructions that you give, or in terms of your work processes, or in terms of your KPIs, or in terms of your job roles and definitions, in terms of the targets that you give your staff. This period of COVID and you're offering service, guess what? You have been pretty clear about what you want in terms of the service that you're offering. Because you've been clear, you also need to do the same now. Are your processes that you're currently running, are they documented? Are you providing that level of clarity? Have you been brutally honest with one another as you resolve problems in your current service delivery? Will you, post-lockdown, will you be able to maintain the same level of transparency, the same level of openness within your team, within your firm, within all the contact points that you have? The level of excellence or service excellence that you offer to your clients and to your customers, can you maintain it? Did you have the documentation that you had to resolve customer complaints, the speed with which you resolve them, the way you were so nice to them? Can you continue to offer that level of support and care or customer care when you go back to normal? You need to be transparent about everything. This is what makes your workforce to believe you, especially as a leader. You're a CEO, you are worried. It makes them to believe you. It makes them to understand that you truly, truly care. I'm hoping that if you take these into consideration, this little thought that I've talked about, you will be able to know that yes, post-COVID, or post the lockdown rather, everybody that is coming in, there is a new behavior, there is a new sort of, you could say, a new rule by which you have been operating while a lot of you were not in the office. It continues. The same way you've been disseminating information, the same way you've been clear about instructions of your processes and your procedures, that same processes, that same mechanism continues. I'm hoping this will help you as we go forward. Tomorrow, we'll conclude this series.
This is for the week. I mean, it's been really interesting seeing the need to take control of change. And when we look at this particular one, I'm really particular about maintaining service excellence. If you can just give a bit like a minute more insight into it. Yeah.
When you are in the business continuity stage, as most organizations are today, all right? Your service excellence is a function of your service levels, because not all of your machinery, not all of the full breadth of your workforce or processes are in full gear.
Yes.
So you've only identified a certain ratio, a certain percentage that is doing that. So, which is what I was talking about. How are you evaluating? Is it documentation is very important.
And transparency in that documentation is very, very important.
It's very important. So,
yeah.
what level of service are we giving? So what tool are you giving to your customers, to your clients? And what feedback are they giving you? I can't know how I'm serving you now unless you do what? Unless you give me feedback. Yeah. So am I deploying a tool, however, to get a feedback from you on the service that I'm offering you? So that's how service excellence, in spite of the fact that we say, okay, we will still maintain a certain level of service excellence, 70% on support, 80% on speed of response. You get my point. We have those targets, those metrics that are there. You get my point. But I will not know, I can't evaluate myself. You know, who evaluates me? My client, my customer. They talk to me, okay, you've been able to provide this support, but I'm not happy to this level. You've tried, you've not done this, you've not done that. So that's the conversation you need to do to be able to evaluate the level of service that you're giving. And it takes documentation. You probably find this in more robust organization, but I'm saying that at whatever level our firms are, this is something we must solicit for. This is so we should not be afraid to ask feedback from the people we have the opportunity to offer our services to. So that's what I think with respect to what you've said.
And then when it comes to acclimatization, what are those kind of things that people, I know that we're looking at reality now, what are those kind of things that employers should begin to prepare their minds to begin to acclimatize to? That this is not what was obtainable before, but these are things that we must begin to acclimatize to.
That's a very good question. In reality, what are we talking about physically? For example, a lot of us are working from home. And you as an employer and your senior team...
So people have been saying, some friends I've talked to say, the work they are doing at home is
even more than what they were doing when they were in the office.
Yes.
You get my point. So part of the acclimatization, which was why I said, what were you doing now, which you were not doing before? You need to capture it. For example, people are working from home. Can we begin to consider flexible working in your enterprise? Can you begin to consider that? Can you begin to look at people working 2 or 3 days in a week in the office and let them work the other 2 or 3 days from home? So you are doing what? You are responding to change. You are taking control of change. What are you going to do if you, for example, if we take that particular item alone, if we consider that, you are going to improve the work-life balance of your staff. They know they have to put what? Three times, for example, in a week to come to the office. The remaining 2 days, for example, they have to stay at home. Imagine our women who have children, as well as our men who also have children. So if you have two working parents or 2 working couples, for example, it means they can swap their working hours. The children have access to their parents now. Within 7 days. They invariably may not have, how many days, 4 days to be with their parents. So the anxiety about work-life balance, that's what acclimatization is. You get my point? So that's the response that comes out of it. That is just one item. Another item you also find out is that it helps you to understand those. So eye service is reduced because you can evaluate and measure or appraise your staff based on work. Real work done. Real work done. In other climes or in developed economies, they've been doing this. We have friends in other climes who are senior executives in their organization. They only go to work about 3 times in a week, some 2 times in a week. So they might not even be there for a week or 2.
But the goals and the tasks are clearly set.
Clear. You see them say, I'm at work. You say, but I'm working from, John, I'm working from home this week. John, I'm working from home this week. So we can talk. But once it's time for them to go on various conversations online with their colleague or in their chat room, in their office chat room, technology has made things. how have you acclimatized to what? To the use of technology in enhancing, not driving, in enhancing your business. You get my point?
Yeah.
How have you acclimatized to use technology, you know, to support your customers, to support your service delivery? So when we talk about acclimatization, that's what we are talking about. You get my point?
I guess it. And also we have to take into context our culture, because I remember the beginning of this year, January, there was a conversation around this in the Lagos Business School, and panelists were saying that here in Africa, if you're at home sometimes, people take notice of that. They want to come in and want to spend time with you. So you have to create that cultural orientation to that. People working from home should not have those encumbrances and disturbances.
Listen, I think it has to do with discipline. When you are working from home, you don't tell anybody you're working from home. The only person that knows you're working from home is you, your spouse, and your members of your household.
Okay.
Is that not so?
Very important.
When you are in meetings, you can put your phones on busy, so nobody can reach you.
So the devices should be set in mode,
yes,
and there are no distractions.
No distraction, you know, no calls coming in, or do not disturb mode, like they say, so that no calls will come in like we are here now. If you like, you try and reach me. You ain't going to reach me. Because I know we are already on, so and I will not have any disturbance. So that's the same culture our people we need to do. The most important thing is our employers. Our employers, if they have survived these 2 months, March and April,
percentage of staff working remotely,
they can survive anything. So it is also calling us to look at our labor laws. For example, the issues of fall-off, you know, which is not in
applicable more in Europe.
Yes, it's not in our client.
In America,
You get my point? So how can we begin to adjust our labor laws with respect to the contract that you have with your firm and the authorities, you get my point, to respond to this? So many conversations are coming up. So even our regulators, how will they improve their technology use in regulating whichever industry that they are regulating? How do they monitor performance of the firms that they are supposed to regulate? So lots of things have been thrown into play, which are already operating in other climes, which we now need to what? Imbibe. Because we've survived 2 months. You get the point?
And the learning point from it.
There are lots of learning points. There are lots of learning points.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Wese. I mean, part 4 has been very interesting.
Thank you.
Understand acclimatization, maintaining service excellence, and even the issue of transparency and documentation.
Absolutely.
We'll have the last lap of this tomorrow.
Yes, please.
I'm looking forward to that. And that will be all for the strategic management conversation today. You can join our website, www.proshareng.com, to get further videos and market reports from us. ProShare this period has set for you a platform where you can get data and analysis on the impact of COVID-19 on the global and Nigerian economy. All you need to do is log on to proshareng.com/COVID-19 and you'll get all those details you need. Join us this evening for a live stream of The Human Angle, where we bring you the connections between the COVID-19 pandemic and other developments as it affects humanity. You don't want to miss it. Till we come your way again, thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.